Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, our group is going to presenting about the article that we choose for the translation project. So, the title of the article that we choose is Adat Resam Perkahwinan Melayu di Malaysia. Right. Without further ado, let me move on with the group members. Alright. So, for the first presenter, we have Sofia, and then the second one is Auni, and then the next one is Hazeem myself. And the next one is Ieman. And the final one is Nasrul. Okay? Without wasting any time, we start our presenting.
Malay wedding customs in Malaysia. A match made in heaven is a proverb frequently used in Malay weddings, which lickens the groom and bride like a battle nut cut in half, which brings the meaning that they are a compatible couple. Malay wedding is a big and festive ceremony, which symbolizes various values, traditions, customs that are very important to the Malay communities. As time goes by, the atmosphere of Malay weddings has changed, from being held in and around village homes to locations such as multipurpose halls, private wedding halls, and hotels.
Nikah or solemnization ceremony is the pinnacle ceremony in a Malay wedding. The ceremony is not merely a custom, but it is a requirement in the Islamic faith. During the solemnization ceremony, the father of the bride must act as the wali to marry off his daughter. However, he may also appoint a tok kadi or imam to perform the ceremony on his behalf. Thereafter, the ritual to nullify ablution ceremony is performed immediately after the solemnization is complete. The husband will place a ring or jewelry on his wife as a symbol that the couple is officially wed.
During the bersanding ceremony or wedding reception, Malay newlyweds are regarded as kings for a day. Various items and symbolic elements decorate or surround them on this special day. Among the symbolic items in traditional Malay wedding ceremonies is the munga manggar and the dulang hantaran, gift trees. The groom and his entourage are warmly welcomed and paraded by a compound troop. Both bride and groom are accompanied by the bunga mangga to create a royal-like atmosphere as they proceed to the days.
Based on the text shown on this slide, the translation method used is the literal translation method. This method means that the translator translates the words and phrases from the source language, which is Malay, directly into the target language, English, word for word, without changing the sentence structure or the original meaning. We can see this clearly in the translation of the sentence, means like bunga manggar diperbuat daripada jalur kertas berwarna-warni dicucuk pada buah betik atau batang pisang supaya menyerupai pokok palma. In English, it becomes bunga manggar was made from strips of colored paper stuck into papaya fruit or banana trunk so that it resembles a palm tree.
This translation used two main techniques, borrowing and adaptation. Borrowing is applied to the term tepung tawa, which is kept in Malay because it represents a traditional cultural ritual that has no exact equivalent in English. Retaining the original term allows the translation to preserve the cultural significance of the ritual and signals to the reader that it is a unique aspect of Malay wedding customs. By using borrowing, the translation respects the source culture and maintains the authenticity of the text.
Alright, let's move on with the translation method. So, as you can see here, we have used borrowing method, adaptation, modulation, literal, equivalence, and last one is subtraction. Alright, okay, let's move on with the explanation. So, the first one is modulation. Modulation happens when the translator changes the perspective or point of view of the original message in order to make it more natural and suitable in the target language. For example, the source language phrase is Raja Sehari in Bahasa Melayu. If we translate it directly, it would mean king for a day. However, in Malay culture, Raja Sehari refers to both the bride and the groom, not only the groom. So, in the target text, it is translated as king and queen for a day. This shows modulation because the translator changed the perspective to match English cultural understanding. In English, a wedding involves both a king and a queen, so adding queen makes the meaning clearer and more suitable and accurate for English reader. Therefore, modulation helps ensure that the message is culturally appropriate and easily understood by the target audience. That's all.
At the same time, adaptation is used to make certain phrases more understandable and natural for English readers. For instance, the Malay phrase "tidak hairanlah" is translated as "it is not surprising that," which shift the perspective from a shared cultural understanding to a neutral and explanatory tone that can be easily understood by readers who may not be familiar with Malay wedding traditions. Similarly, Raja Sehari is rendered as king and queen for a day, using familiar English terms to convey the idea of the bride and groom being celebrated like royalty, while keeping the meaning consistent with the source text. By combining borrowing and adaptation, these translations successfully balance cultural preservation with readability. Borrowing ensures that unique cultural elements are maintained, while adaptation adjusts expressions and concepts to suit the target audience, making the text clear and accessible without losing its original meaning. These techniques work together to create a translation that is both faithful to the source text and natural for English readers, effectively bridging cultural differences while communicating the intended message. That's all from me.
Here every word is directly translated according to its meaning in Malay, and the sentence structures follows exactly the same order. The translator did not modify the style of rephrase it to sound more natural in English. Instead, the goal was to preserve the accuracy, structure, and the original message on the Malay text. However, this kind of translation may sometimes sound slightly unnatural or stiff in English because it doesn't take into account cultural or idiomatic differences. Still, it's very effective when we want to maintain the authentic meaning of the original text. So, overall, this slide clearly demonstrates the use of literal translation, where the focus is on translating every word directly while keeping the form of and structure of the source language intact. That's all from me.
Borrowing is transfer the source language word directly to the target language without any formal or semantic modification. For example, internet, English, internet, Bahasa Melayu. There are two types of borrowing, which is direct borrowing and modified borrowing. The one I use for to translate the source language is direct borrowing. Source language, Wali and Imam Bahasa Melayu. Target language, Wali, Imam, English. The reason I use this because to preserve the religious and cultural identity of the ceremony, and because it is relatively unknown to most target audience.
Equivalence is a procedure that replicates the same situation as in the original, whilst using completely different wording. For example, source text, to kill two birds with one stone. Target text, sambil menyelam, minum air. The source text in Malay that I found in the article reads, Bagai pinang dibelah dua. And the target text I translated to in English is a match made in heaven. For the justification, the proverbs used in both source language and target language carry the same meaning, a relationship or pairing where each member perfectly complements the other. Also, when translating idiomatic expressions using equivalence method, there are four types of steps that can be applied following the suitability of the text. First, replace it with existing idiomatic expressions in target language. Second, literally translate the idiomatic expression only if applicable. Third, form a new idiomatic expressions. And lastly, describe the meaning while eliminating the idiomatic expression. For this translation, I use the first method. Possible issue that could arise during translation is that cultural context in source text and target text often differ in customs, idioms, or values, making full functional equivalence challenging. Therefore, it is important to understand the full context before proceeding with the translation, because there may be error that can cause mistranslation and misinformation. Subtractions is to eliminate or reduce unnecessary repetition to avoid ambiguity. For example, source text. We offer a variety of fish, prawns, squids, and crab for the meal. Target text, kami menawarkan makanan laut sebagai hidangan. The source text in Malay that I found in the article reads, yang membawa maksud mereka adalah pasangan yang serasi dan sepadan. And the target text I translated to in English is, which brings the meaning that they are a compatible couple. Justification for this translation is to avoid repetition because serasi and sepadan carry the same meaning in English. Possible issue that could arise during translation is that it can cause confusion because there are some words that have more than one interpretation. In this case, based on Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka, sepadan is the synonym for serasi, which means comparable. But sepadan can also be translated to matching. So if we translate it literally, the translation would be left hanging and target readers will be confused and wonder what does it mean that this couple is comparable and matching. Is it about their clothes they are matching?
Alhamdulillah, I think that's all from us for our translation presentation today. Thank you so much for watching and listening to our presentation. So that's all from us. Thank you so much.